Winter.
Yes.
Why didn't the mason jar need a paternity test?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to know.
Because the resemblance was uncanny.
Terrible.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to the Hungry Squared podcast, where the brain and belly meet. I'm Lee from the Bee's Knees Waffles.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we are talking with Kate and Bryce Hansen, the creators of the Ergo Spout, and we wanted to talk to them about their entire process of bringing this to market. It's going to be very interesting.
Very.
Let's talk about it. Hello, Leland.
Hello.
Welcome back again.
Well,
this is the
thank
second
you.
episode that you've done in a couple of weeks.
I am not a mainstay, so people don't write in hate mail because I'm not here to.
Well, and if you do like Lee, you can also write in a fan letter and say we like Lee.
I will not write my own fan letter, dear.
It's the reason why Lee's back on the show is because a little bit of sickness hit Sharon's household after she got back from her honeymoon. So, which is kind of a bummer. Let's be honest.
Big bummer.
Yeah. So anyway, how's your week been, Lee?
It's been good.
Yeah?
We, it's starting to cool down here, so it's beautiful weather. It's only in the 80s and low 90s.
I know. I love fall time. It's great. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, for our food nerd shout out this week, I have a couple of ones that I wanted to share with you. And you know a couple of these people, I think, because I wrote something. I posted something about cotton candy. We had a cotton candy episode, and I found that cotton candy divides a house.
A house divided.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that love that cotton candy, and the fairy floss, Lee. It's the fairy floss. One of our listeners, for example, and this is how she put it, Marissa. Hey, Marissa. She said, she commented, absolutely love it. I listened to the episode yesterday and she said it was great. So thanks, Marissa. That was really nice of you to comment on that. And then there's other people that, like Nadia, our friend Nadia, said, I haven't had it since I was 5. Didn't like it then and probably still won't like it when she's 31 years later. So people really did not love it. It seems like you don't love it.
I don't like it. So
you're on Sharon's side. I love it. Sugar.
It is sugar.
It's sugar. The other food nerd shout out that I wanted to bring up was Leslie and Aaron of the So This Is Love podcast. Now, they were on our podcast a while ago. I don't know. I'll put a link in the show notes, and we were on their podcast, and I'll put a link in our show notes for that. But they just barely got to the salt episode. They're doing some catch up from the summer because it was pretty busy for them. But they listened to the real salt episode. And Aaron apparently has been searching for it. And it sounds like they can get it at some of their grocery stores. So they just ordered some online, and they just barely got a 4-pack of just the regular salt shaker. And then they have the ones that have the herbs and spices and mixes and such. So, and Leslie said, Aaron is so excited. And so I'm happy that they're giving that a try. Let me know what you think. I think it's good fun. If you haven't checked out their podcast, it's So This Is Love podcast. And they talk about marriage and relationships, especially as a couple. It's really a fun, interesting peek into another person's relationship. So anyway, so that's what we have for Food Nerd Shout Out this week.
Let's dig into the kitchen drawer. And this week, I am going to be talking about a tool that we use in our own household. We were over at a friend's house and we were sort of talking about childhood snacks we all used to eat. And it seemed that we all ate popcorn.
Yeah.
And growing up, we had a very well-used popcorn popper. And it was one of those dry air poppers. What I loved about the design of my childhood is it blew the hot air in a circular motion. So it wouldn't blow the air from underneath. And I really like that. The popcorn popper that Winter and I have.
Which one is it?
It's called the Presto Pop Light.
Presto Pop Light. And you don't like it.
I don't like it. The air is forced from the bottom up. And it pushes a lot of kernels up and out. And so you get a bed of kernels at the bottom of all your popcorn.
And that's a bummer.
It is.
They're rejects.
Well,
they're not even rejects.
They're not
They
even
just got
rejects. They just got
tossed out too
forced-
early.
Yeah. They got expelled from school well before their prime.
So what you're saying on air is that you don't like our popcorn machine.
I don't like our popcorn machine.
Should we get another one?
Well, I don't know. If we find the right one, if it has the circular air motion.
Circular air motion. Okay. Well, what do you give our popcorn popper star rating wise? So it's the Presto Pop Light popcorn maker.
Out of 5 stars, I'd give it 1. 1 star. Because
Man, why do we even have it then?
Well, the thing is like if you're making a lot of popcorn, you shove a lot of the kernels in, but who's really making enough popcorn for 15 people?
So if you put in a ton, it's fine.
Yeah, it still pushes out a lot of kernels, but not as much as if you're making for 2-3 people.
Okay, so that's why you're giving it a 1.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a 1, but we'll maybe do a shout out to any of our listeners. If you know of a good popcorn maker, because apparently we need to replace this in our kitchen.
Yeah. If it makes, beautiful popcorn for 1 or 2 people, we're not going to feed everybody in the neighborhood.
We're not?
No.
We usually do, though.
Yep, that's food.
Oh, okay.
They can make their own dang popcorn. And now for the main course. Okay, let's get down to the topic at hand. Winter, what is it?
Well, on this episode, I interviewed Kate and Bryce Hansen, and they are the creators and inventors of the Ergo Spout. And what the Ergo Spout is, it's a pour spout designed to screw on top of a mason jar. And it's really kind of cool. They took me basically through their entire process from their idea and concept to when they were prototyping. Like you met them at the farmer's market last summer, and they showed both of us one of their prototypes. And then we went on to talk about a little bit of their successful Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
Which was really fun. It really gave me a whole new perspective and respect for a really well-designed kitchen tool. So without further delay, let's get into the interview. Okay, you guys, we are so excited to be here today with Kate and Bryce Hansen. It's just me on the podcast hosting these lovely people. So I'm so grateful that they are here and willing to chat with me about their design process in developing the Ergo Spout. So thank you for coming, Kate, Bryce.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
So just a little bit of an introduction of how I ran into you guys. I actually met Bryce first last summer at the Bountiful Farmers Market. My husband, Lee, as you guys know, has a food stand and he makes bubble waffles. And so Bryce actually came up and started chatting with us, and he had a prototype of the Ergo Spout. And he was just I think he was doing market research actually while we were there. He talked to us. I think he was talking to people at the market and discussing like what this product was, what we thought about it, would it work, would it be helpful, that kind of thing. And so that's how I kind of got a glimpse of it. And then it just so happened that you guys are friends with a couple of other friends of ours. And so we have common friends, and they said, you guys need to interview them and talk about how they got this Ergo Spout going and basically ready for production and ready to launch here really, really soon. So can we talk about a little bit about this process? I'm really excited to jump into this because I've never met anybody that has developed a kitchen tool from beginning to end almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot has happened in that year since you met Bryce.
I know. Yeah. And that was really, I think, last a little bit more than a year ago that I met you, Bryce. So Kate, I am assuming you were the brains behind the original product.
I would say that I had the initial idea, but certainly the development of the product has been a team effort.
Okay.
So my original idea came a number of years ago when my children were small, and I would make homemade pancake syrup for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Just simple syrup with maple flavoring.
Which is good.
It's delicious and inexpensive.
Yes.
And I had a vintage syrup dispenser that Bryce's mom had given me. That was really fun. It was from like the 50s and I loved it.
Whoa.
And one morning I chipped it.
Yeah. So it was made of like ceramic or glass?
It was a glass base with a plastic lid, and it was intended for syrup. And I was really bummed. And so, of course, you hop on eBay and you search the internet trying to find a replacement jar, and I just couldn't find it. Oh. And then I was like, what I really need is like a mason jar. Because if you break a mason jar, You just go get another one.
You get another one. You probably have a bunch of them in your kitchen.
It's not a
that's
huge,
right.
it's not a huge loss. And then I was like, well, that would be really cool. What if there was a lid for a mason jar that could turn it into a syrup dispenser? So back to the internet, doing all kind of searches, and it just simply didn't exist.
Really?
It didn't exist, was this kind of spout and handle for a mason jar. And so the idea kind of bumped around in our brains for a number of years.
Yeah.
But Bryce has always wanted to do a Kickstarter campaign, and he's always wanted to develop a product. So I'll hand it off to him, and he can kind of talk about the process, because I think he finally got sick of us talking about it. And then he's like, I'm going to do something about it. So I'll let him tell about the next steps of what we did.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, really quickly though. So that was several years ago when you chipped your original.
Probably 2012 or 2013.
Oh, wow.
It was a long time
Okay,
ago.
so it was a while ago. And obviously at that time, nothing had shown up with that when you searched for any sort of product.
Right. And I would still go, on Amazon and on
Check it out every so often.
It still didn't exist. And so, we knew that there was a window of opportunity there because there wasn't anything on the market like what we wanted.
Yeah. Okay, Bryce, take it over.
Yeah, so probably a year and a half ago, I hired an engineer, someone I networked into from my day job. I meet with a lot of people. I have a pretty good Rolodex for early stage startups, etc. And so we talked to someone, we hired him, and really inexpensively, he's a full-time engineer with the company, and he wanted to do some work on the side.
Oh, cool.
And so we kicked it off, and we started with some initial designs and just did multiple ones and crazy ones and fun ones. But really for a few $100s, we got it to the point where we thought, hey, let's get some feedback from the market. Let's get feedback from people who can give us good feedback, because we don't want to build something that no one wants to buy.
Exactly. Yeah. That was one of my other questions actually, is that obviously you found something that was lacking in your kitchen, but you also want to make sure it's lacking in other people's kitchens as well. So,
right.
Were you going to say something, Kate?
Well, I was going to say, before we move on to like the validation process that we went through,
for sure.
I actually brought some of the prototypes so you could see we went through a lot of prototypes.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things about prototyping today is 3D printers.
I know. It's a thing, you guys. It's a thing. So tell me, do you have a 3D printer?
We don't, but the engineer that we were working with did. And so we would basically ask him to change a design, and he was doing 2 and 3 a week. And I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. And this isn't even all of the different designs that we started out with, but it's fun because once you get a physical product in your hand, you can start seeing where you might want to tweak it.
Yes, exactly.
And, and when I said earlier that this was, a joint effort in development, like I had the idea, but Bryce had some pretty strong feelings about how a kitchen product should feel in your hand.
Yes.
And that's why he named it the Ergo Spout, because he wanted it to be ergonomic.
I was wondering about that actually, because I remember when you brought the prototype and showed it to us last summer, we talked about the handle specifically and what would work and what maybe wouldn't work. You asked specifically, how did it feel holding it? Would this be something that you could use in your kitchen? And I remember like, oh yeah, that'd actually be really handy. And then I think we did say something about the handle and making sure it wasn't too rounded so it would slip in your hand. I mean, I think there was some discussion about that.
You can see that like one of the first prototypes has a really flat and kind of square handle. And when you hold that, it's functional, but it doesn't necessarily work. And then we tried to find some that might fit your fingers. This is kind of a funny one, but it shows how it might fit your fingers.
Yep. So I really am holding one. It's the second one in the lineup of 6 right now. And she has the grooves kind of built into there, but it is a little
almost like the BMX bike handle.
Yeah. There's not, I mean, it looks like it should be super comfortable, but it's not.
But it's not
uber comfortable.
And so here's another one I'll hand you. This one's more bulbous, where it might like fill your hand a little bit. But if you feel the next one, which is the one we settled on, the bulb was really too big.
It was. The one that I'm holding right now is, I have a smaller hand, and so the bulb portion, and there's a little bit of a bulb, and this one is quite a bit more comfortable than the previous 3 that I just held. Yeah,
so you can kind of see the evolution of the first ones, they might have looked good and they certainly were functional, but we really wanted to create a product that when you held it was something that was comfortable in your hand and was something that you wanted to use. Yeah. Which is actually, I think, not a way a lot of products are made, because everything's made so inexpensively today that you don't always get that.
Yeah, you don't think about the end user.
Right.
Unfortunately. So it's pretty cool seeing that. tell me what you guys, I'm actually a little curious about the prototyping part. So like, for example, this very first one that I have that is a little flatter, kind of a little bulkier. Did you like screw it onto your mason jar and just worked it and used it and realized, nope, this is not the handle for us?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we spent a lot of nights holding prototypes.
Holding prototypes. That is so funny. Because it does have to be comfortable because mason jars can be quite heavy. It's glass. And some of them are larger than others. So
yeah. And one of the other considerations that we thought about as we were developing it is we wanted it to fit all sizes of mason jars. Now, this first version of the Ergo Spout is just a regular mouth jar.
Okay.
Or a regular mouth size for the jars. But I've brought 3 of the jars that it will fit. And so I brought a vintage pint. It's one of the nice blue ones from the 1920s.
It's so pretty.
It's so pretty. So it'll fit those vintage ones and it'll fit a pint, which is great for syrup. But, obviously we wanted it to fit a quart. That's a pretty standard size that people have in their kitchen. But we also wanted it to fit these half-gallon sizes.
Which I will tell you right now, I have never owned a half-gallon size one. And it's kind of, so if you guys know, I'm just looking at the jar right now. It's kind of got a shoulder to it. And so you guys had to consider the shoulder even to make sure it fit and cleared that shoulder. What I'm talking about is the edge of the that goes down to the side. So
exactly.
So yeah, and they put one on, and sure enough, it does clear that edge with plenty of clearance for your fingers too. So that's just interesting to see that you guys even considered that, because when you look at it just originally, you're like, that does kind of stick out a bit, but there was a lot of thought put into how it could be used for everything.
Right. And I think that, that's what's been so nice about the 3D printed prototypes is you can just keep making them, like, oh, let's tweak it here. Oh, well, we need a little, it's too close to the jar. It's too far away. Or what if we did this? And, the ones that Bryce originally took to the farmer's market also had this, they kind of curved up away from the rounded portion, and we eventually went to a more straighter one because it balanced the jar better, which is something that so all of those things went into really trying to create a product that people would enjoy using in addition to being functional.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna take some pictures and put them in the show notes so you can see. So if you want to see kind of what we were talking about, it is so interesting to see that difference, because when you held up both of those together, you could totally see a difference of there's a little bit of a bump on one of them, and the one's a bit flatter actually. So that's kind of cool that you balanced out the jar.
Yeah. So, and I think the next design step was with regard to a lid. Like the original design didn't have a lid at all.
Yes. And that's one thing I don't know if you found that out in your market research, because I was like, well, it's a great pourable thing, but nothing to cover what might just be sitting in there still. Is that?
Yeah.
That's right. And this particular lid was one we moved toward just a round circle to put right on top of there.
Just nest right perfectly
in there. And we are going forward with that. And again, we went and got some more feedback from folks. We went to last January, we went to a home and garden show here in Salt Lake. And the feedback, we got a really good feedback. A lot of people joining our email list who were interested. But that was one thing that came out of that. And plus some Facebook ads, we got some other feedback that people said, hey, what about a lid that really covers the whole top and not just part of it?
Yeah. So Bryce kind of mentioned that there was basically something that would cover only the hole, and it really just looks like almost a teapot lid. Yeah, that's all it is. It's a circle with a tiny handle, and sure, that's great, but there's kind of something appealing about having a full-on cover.
Well, someone pointed out to us that if you poured anything out of the spout and then put the lid on, the spout would be covered in the food,
whatever,
the syrup, the salad dressing. Yeah, it would be covered in that, which if you were going to stick that in your fridge with the lid on would be pretty gross.
Yeah, it's going to, get stuck on. I'm just thinking of syrup. I'm like,
in hindsight, it's pretty obvious now, but at the time, sometimes doesn't seem so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the point where we went and hired some industrial designers because we needed a little bit more help. So everything else we did kind of on our own with our ideas and our engineer putting our ideas into a physical form. But we realized that when it came to a flip top lid, because we needed it to bend and hinge in a certain way.
Exactly.
It was a little bit beyond us. So that's when we went and hired someone to help us. We used a local design firm. And so this is the final 3D printed version that shows the flip top lid.
That is so cool. So if you go to their website, if you guys are so super curious to see this and you are not able to go look at the show notes right now, if you're driving in the car, don't do that. You can go to culinesco.com and then you can see the kind of the final design that you have, and it's beautiful. Like, it's really a nice design, pretty colors. I'm just going to say pretty colors. I like it. Good job choosing those. But yeah, it really is nice to have something that covers it completely. It was a lot different than I had seen last summer. You guys have really gone a long way from then. So.
Yeah, and the designers were certainly the people that helped us get that final prototype that is the one that you see on the website.
Now, this is just kind of a little bit of a curiosity for me. When they 3D printed each of these prototypes, was it quite expensive? I'm not totally sure. I have not gotten into 3D printing. I'm just curious about it.
So it can be expensive if you're using some third-party services that do printing kind of professionally. Now, our engineer who's working with us, he still works with us today, our first designer. He has his own printer, and so he gives us a really good deal on it.
Sweet.
And so it's fairly inexpensive for us to do a 3D printed prototype through him.
But there's another thing that you consider when you're doing the earlier prototypes. Feel the weight of that first one. Now feel the weight of the last one.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a quality that you can change in your prototype. So certainly with those first prototypes, we printed it on the most inexpensive
types of materials.
Yeah, and it's hollow and it's not as strong. You can see that first one got glued with a glue gun.
I was going to ask about that. I was like, is that part of the 3D printing? Nope, it probably got broken.
Yeah, and that's just because the plastic can get broken easily because it was done on the sort of, what would you call it?
The process too is this was a hollowed version, and so it wasn't as thick inside, so it was weak just to get the form factor.
Yes,
early
exactly.
On.
Yeah, and then the one that I'm holding in my other hand with the lid, basically the final design is quite a bit. It feels solid. Is all I can say.
And that's the printing process. It's a more expensive process. It uses more plastic to fill all that in.
Okay, gotcha. It's really nice. So let's back up one step because I do actually want to ask what you guys think about kitchen tools in general. Do you guys have a philosophy about kitchen tools? I can kind of gather what I think you think, what your philosophy is of kitchen tools, but I want to know what you keep in your kitchen and why you keep those things in your kitchen and what are the kind of if you have any rules for something to stay in your kitchen.
If you could see me, you would see the huge grin on my face because Bryce has a totally different theory than I do.
Oh, okay.
And you have to know that Bryce, I do all the cooking at our house by choice. But Bryce is an ice cream eater. And he should explain something about how many ice cream scoops he has and how much he paid for his ice cream scoops.
Whoa.
So yeah, tell him about your ice cream scoops, babe.
Well, I have a few. I have I guess 4 that I have, or is it 3?
You have 4 ice cream scoops.
Well, I have 3 that I bought myself.
Well, 2 of them were gifts that I bought for you for
Christmas.
Okay.
So they're really ergonomic. They're very nice, easy to use. They're different purposes, but they're one's a Cutco brand.
Okay.
They're $40 to $50 for those, and they're well designed for different reasons. And then there's one we got just recently called the Midnight Scoop.
There's a midnight one, and there's one called Bel Air.
Bel Air.
Both of those, they were Christmas presents last year, and both of them happened to be Kickstarter campaigns.
Okay. I love Kickstarter campaigns. I love supporting them. I think they're so fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So what makes these different then?
Well, they're just well designed. I mean, it's just really comfortable to hold the Bel Air. I mean, it's a great spoon. It's the way you slice the ice cream. It's really easy on your wrist.
Okay.
And then the other one, the Midnight one, is a different philosophy where you just use your whole muscle, like for the really dense ice cream.
Yeah.
And so you don't hurt your wrist. And it's a well designed scoop. Both of them were great, and they were past.
So Bryce's theory for kitchen tools is really a user experience.
Yes, and as we've kind of heard already, he's like, this doesn't feel right, or this is too bulbous, or
right. But because I do all the cooking, my theory is quite a bit different.
Okay.
And I know there's like a big debate between multitaskers and unitaskers, but I sort of have a theory on what you should have in your kitchen.
Oh.
And there's two categories of kitchen tools. There are those that are aspirational and those that are an enhancement.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's
the idea
develop this a little bit more.
Right. So the idea is if you have a kitchen tool that's aspirational, that would be something that you think if you have that tool, it will change your life. It will change how you cook. It will do something different for you than what you're already doing.
Okay.
And chances are, whether it's a multitasker or a unitasker, you're not going to use that very often because you have to change in order to use it.
And change is hard for people.
In the
Change is
kitchen.
really hard for people.
Right. Now, the other category of kitchen tools would be those that enhance or an enhancement. And those are tools, regardless of whether it's a multitasker or unitasker, that enhance what you already do in the kitchen. How you like to cook, how you like to prepare food, how you like to serve food. And if it enhances what you already do, you're going to love that tool.
I like that a lot, actually, because I have an array of multitaskers and I have an array of unitaskers. And the things that stay are the things that kind of fit into our cooking philosophy or what we actually do in the kitchen. Because yes, we do have a few things that we pull out a couple of times a year, but they totally are how we cook and is totally necessary for what we want to do.
Yeah.
I like that philosophy, Kate.
Thank you. So that's I have a few unitaskers, but they're the ones I love and I use.
And yeah, garlic press. For some reason, I know that's dumb, but I hate chopping garlic.
And if you love it and you use a lot of fresh garlic, then
Yeah.
you've got to have one in your kitchen.
Yeah, totally. Yes, I love this. Amen.
Amen. So for me, obviously, this was something I wanted in my kitchen. It enhanced what I already did,
Yes.
right? Like I made syrup for my kids and I needed something to store it in and I needed something to put the hot syrup in that I could serve it without them burning themselves.
Yeah, and or melting something.
Right. And so that's why I wanted this for the kitchen. But then for Bryce, his contribution was to make it an experience that you'd want to use it.
So it actually was a nice little melding of both of your philosophies to make it a good user experience, but also be something that would enhance how you cook. And I'm sure how other people cook too, because when you brought this up, the thing that drives me absolutely bonkers is when we make our own salad dressing. Absolutely bonkers, because I cannot keep that dang jar clean. Drives me crazy.
It drips down the side.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so that kind of leads into the whole validation process that we were talking about before, that, I really think in Bryce's mind when he started taking this to the farmer's market, that in the back of his mind, he thought, this is kind of a cool product, but it's too niche. Like there's not enough people.
Absolutely. Yes.
You definitely thought that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because you'd seen that before in what you do for a day job?
He's not a cooker. He's not a chef. He's not, he's not someone that uses mason jars regularly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so
There
I think
are plenty of us out there.
yeah. And so I think he thought, well, yeah, I know there's some people who use mason jars. Some people still can, but there's not enough people out there that do. So he took it to the first farmer's market that he got a booth at. And you can tell a story because it was, he got a table up at the Kaysville Farmer's Market for $5.
Yep.
Well, it even started before then. About a week before that, I went to the Bountiful Farmers Market and I had one of the spouts right in my backpack walking around, and I pulled it out randomly to about 10 or 12 people.
Yeah.
And just said, hey, what do you think about this? Just walking around, just kind of really low key. And I think, well, maybe 14 people, and I had maybe 10 people say, hey, that's really cool. I'd like that maybe. And so I said, well, okay, let's go ahead and get a real booth and just as quickly as we can, let's do it where we can in the next week. And so went to Kaysville, just kind of last minute, just kind of rolled in, and I was able to just jump in there. And we had a very low key. I mean, it was, we borrowed a table from Kate's sister and put a tablecloth on it. We had a handwritten note basically that said world's first ergonomic spout and handle for mason jars. We had no name yet.
Yeah.
And, sign up if you want one. We're going to do a Kickstarter in the future, not knowing if we would or not, just saying that. And so we had clipboards,
a table and a clipboard and a pencil.
And just to say, hey, if you're interested, give us your email, and we're gonna bring this to market if you're interested. And I was surprised in 3.5 hours we had about 60 emails.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
That's impressive.
So he did it a couple more times at the Bountiful Farmers Market that summer. It was last summer.
Last summer.
Yeah.
And we had over 200 by the end of the summer.
Wow, that's great. See, because the key is for any business thing, right? It's the email list. That's the key.
Well, and that was big, as Bryce told me that he wanted to have 5,000 to 10,000 emails by the time we launched our Kickstarter campaign. And I think I about fell over.
I was going to say, I'm kind of about falling over. I'm like, really?
Yeah, for sure.
But that was the goal.
You don't have to tell me, but I'm sure you guys are probably up there.
We were in that range when we launched.
Awesome.
But that was a lot of work. That was part of the reason we went to the home shows, was not just user feedback, but to continue to collect email addresses.
Yes.
We started our social media with Instagram and Facebook to start learning about who would want this, which was super helpful because we learned that it's homesteaders that love it.
Oh.
Not just canners, but the homesteaders. I think they're the ones that, a lot of them use mason jars for everything, but they also want things in glass. They, natural products.
Oh, totally.
And so that helped us kind of target our Facebook ads. And so we were able to grow our list. And then we launched the Kickstarter campaign on July 2nd with an initial of this year with an initial goal of $10,000.
Right.
And we funded in 14 hours.
14 hours, you guys. That is awesome. I am a little curious about the whole Kickstarter, like how you guys did that, because that is interesting to me too. It's fun to have people fund something that they want. I love doing Kickstarter stuff.
It was super fun. And there's not a lot of kitchen tools on Kickstarter.
Really?
Didn't seem like there's very many. There's a couple, but it was kind of rare, but it was fun to be one of them.
So after you started going to all these home shows, all these farmers markets, basically asking your potential customers about how they would like this product to end up being. So you guys would gather all of this information to help improve the product, but also be able to have a diving off point for your Kickstarter campaign, which is so smart because you're giving something that they want.
Yeah. And I think we were fortunate because Bryce in his job has put on the Utah Crowdfunding Summit for the last 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And has really learned exactly what you need to do to launch a successful campaign. And so he would tell me what to do and I would roll my eyes and try and do it my way. And then I would come back and go, okay, I'll do it your way. And he was always right.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Give me an example of one of the things that maybe we don't quite understand about crowdsourcing, and what are some good tactics for that? I mean, I'm sure there are other people out there that are listening that are like, oh, I've got something in my brain. What would be a good way to get some good crowdsourcing funding?
So, yeah, great question. There's really two things that jump out. Number one is that email list needs to be really large. Ideally, that email list should be 10,000 people. That these are people who are opted in to want what you're going to crowdfund. So you have to generate that interest. Now, if you have 10,000 emails, you can almost guarantee if they've opted in for your particular product, you're almost guaranteed to get your goal if it's a reasonable goal. So as you go down below 10,000, then your risk increases that you won't get it. But at the very least, I would say at least in some cases 3,000, 5,000 emails. So that's number one.
Okay. You need to have your customer base almost. Okay.
And a lot of that is that with a Kickstarter campaign, you have a window in which to gather people to contribute and to select a reward. And so if you launch the campaign and then go try and gather your people, you're not going to have time.
There's not enough time. Yeah. Time frame is crucial, actually. So for those to be successful. Okay.
Number two, I think, is just that validation process. So we had started a year before just getting feedback on the product. And so you really have to succeed in crowdfunding, there has to be a product that is somewhat unique, not just a me too, but still feels I think, familiar in some ways as well. And so I think in our case, the Ergo Spout did fit that. There's familiarity, but there's a little bit uniqueness there. And it was a validated product. So by the time we launched, we had validated, but we'd also gotten feedback from people who would be users. And so people, again, we're building it for humans. We're building it for, people have already said they wanted it.
Yeah, for the end cook
right.
or end homesteader, I guess. It seems like that's a big deal. So I think that was really smart to do that. So you launched in July and funded it in 14 hours. Impressive. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's awesome. You can still kind of jump in though and pre-order. Is that right?
That's right. Because the manufacturing process takes quite a bit of time. This product is going to be injection molded.
Okay.
And in fact, the design process, once you get to the point where you're ready to manufacture, then there's still all these other considerations to take into, because we had to make certain changes to the design in order for it to be manufacturable. So one thing I didn't know is that if you're going to do a product that's injection molded, every portion of the spout, and for us, the spout has to be the same thickness of plastic.
Oh.
And so you can see that we took all this time to design a handle that was kind of bulbous and fit your hand, but it's quite a bit thicker than the rest of the spout.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
So in order to make that work for us, And in fact, you can go around your kitchen. If you go look at kitchen tools that are plastic, that are injection mold, you'll find that handles are hollowed out quite regularly because of that molding process.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Just a limitation in the manufacturing process,
Right.
or I guess limitation, whatever. It's just the way it's been done. So, okay.
Right. Well, it has to be because they put hot plastic in there. And so if one side's thicker, the thinner side will burn before it gets a chance to fill out the thicker side.
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
Okay.
So in order to compensate for that, we had to hollow out our handle, but we wanted to maintain that shape. So it's going to have an overmold made out of like a rubberized material, kind of silicone. It's not silicone, but it's silicone-like. And so it's actually going to have two materials on it so that we can maintain the ergonomics that we wanted and still have the manufacturability.
Okay. So how thick that's got to be quite thick of a overlay.
Well, it's really not, because they hollowed it out, rather than hollowing it out vertical, they hollowed it out horizontal. And so if you look at the designs, if you could see the interior, it would have like a bunch of little lines all the way down with space in between each of those. So it'll have a little bit of the TVP overmold. It's really interesting how they're doing it.
Oh.
They're very clever. Once you tell them what you want, they'll find a way to do it.
To get around that.
Right.
That's cool. And I'm sure the overlay, like you said, it's either a silicone rubberized that
it's called TVP.
TVPs, and that I'm sure is comfortable in the hand / it prevents slippage, that type of thing.
Yeah, so it's going to be a nice feature, even though the reason it's there is manufacturability.
So you guys didn't even have that originally?
Not originally, no. Yeah, definite silver lining to that.
Okay, well that's pretty cool.
So that we're working on the molds right now. So they have to build the molds to manufacture them, which takes 50 to 60 days.
Okay.
And then they'll be able to manufacture them. So we won't even have product until probably sometime in January. Mm-hmm. And we've told our Kickstarter backers we'll deliver in February.
Okay.
So during that time, we're still taking pre-orders on our website, colonesco.com.
Okay. So if you are interested in one of these, like I said, I will have many pictures on the website on our show notes so you can see them. Okay, so obviously you're distributing them this route. You're going to go ahead and give your Kickstarter backers the chance to get these first, and also anybody who pre-orders. I know that you have not captured everybody that will want this. How are you going to market this, and how are you going to distribute this?
So with regard to distribution, some of that's still in formulation because Bryce and I don't always have the same plan. And so we're still working that out. We always, have our differences of opinion and then formulate a plan that usually is probably better than either of, what we want. So Bryce is more interested in the big box distribution like Walmart and Target.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in doing it online and having more control over the brand. My fear is that if we go straight into big box out of the gate is we'll lose control of the brand and what we want because we won't have as much market power. Whereas if we can develop the brand ourselves and build it and then work into big box store later, we'll probably have more bargaining power. But that's just
more
my
bargaining
preference.
power and maybe more sellability or better, cut, I guess.
Yeah. But there's Amazon and all of the other online outlets. So for now, it's just going to be available online.
Okay. So currently, Bryce, would you like to add your 2 cents on that?
I think it's Kate's absolutely right with that. Whenever we have disagreements in any of the things we've done the last year, ultimately we come to a pretty good happy medium and figure that out. And I think we'll end up in some way or another, selling through the different channels. And I think it's just a matter of timing for each one of those. And we just want to be really mindful about how we're doing that. And I think we are.
It seems like you guys have been very thoughtful about your entire process, actually. And then marketing, are you guys planning on just Facebook ads? I mean, obviously, if you're going to do online, that's a lot of where it's going to happen. Or are you going to try and hit up home shows and that type of thing and get in front of big crowds of people?
Well, we actually are signed up for Pinners Conference.
The
nice. First week in November.
Okay.
Out at the Mountain America Expo Center.
Right.
So we will be doing some shows to increase visibility and to sell. But there's lots of things you can do for online marketing. I'm always amazed at the success that small businesses can find on the internet because the internet's so big. And
there's somebody out there wanting your thing.
Yeah. So it's all a matter of, learning the SEO, advertising on Pinterest, on Facebook, on Instagram, and all those places where people can find you. And I'm a big food blogger fan, and I just got back from Tastemaker Conference and was super impressed with these women who have basically built an empire from nothing. That's what they've done.
Well, and in sometimes very short amount of times too.
Yeah.
So, which is very impressive and totally doable. So go you guys. Okay. You guys aren't necessarily close to the end of this process, but I'm actually curious, what are some things that you would change in what happened in the last year? Gosh, from the first time you chipped that syrup dispenser, what would you change in this entire process? Or would you change it?
Well, I know it's easy to say that it would have been better to start sooner, but life is hard and we have kids, and I'm not sure that we could have done it at any other time. Like, the timing actually feels pretty perfect for doing this, but I think there are things that we changed, not necessarily choices that we made, but maybe our approach. And I can let Bryce talk a little bit about this, because I think sometimes in the process of designing something or building a business, you freak out and you find something that's really stressful. And so you feel like you have to make a choice quickly, and you feel so desperate. And so sometimes you make bad choices.
Yeah, and so we've done a little bit of that, and I don't know, we'll get into the details, but we've spent a few $100s here, a couple thousand, when we could have held back and just waited. And overall, we haven't done any of the big mistakes, just a few small that we were able to recover from and move forward. But just a few impatience and not really taking a deep breath and saying, okay, maybe it's getting an additional quote on something and just taking our time a little bit on that. And so, we've recovered from most of those, all of those things. And I think we're in a good shape right now, but just those kind of things.
It's good to learn from your mistakes, right? And so,
well, I think it's hard not to make mistakes. If you listen to a lot of people that have found success, like, a lot of them will say, make as many mistakes as you can.
Yeah.
Because those are the things you learn from.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the other things that we didn't really anticipate was how much people would want a wide mouth version.
There are different types of mouths to mason jars.
Right. There's two. There's the regular mouth, or sometimes it's called the narrow, but there's the regular mouth and there's the wide mouth. And, when I first came up with this idea, I wanted it like for syrup and salad dressing and for things in the small jars. But Ball, who is the largest manufacturer of mason jars in the United States, manufactures half-gallon jars only in the wide mouth version. So like there's a regular mouth half-gallon sitting on your table right now, but it's vintage. All of the regular mouth sizes are vintage, and I didn't realize how much people would want a spout for that large jar. Like, because it wasn't necessarily how I created it.
Right.
But that's what people want. So we are excited because we are planning a second Kickstarter campaign.
Really?
Yep. So as soon as we're done fulfilling and sending out, all of our backers that they have gotten their rewards for helping us, we're going to launch a second campaign for the wide mouth version.
That is awesome. I will admit that I do love the wide mouth, actually. So did anybody say anything like how they would end up using it? Or is it just that they themselves actually have more wide mouth jars that's more popular or something?
I think Ball's kind of going to wide mouth. They produced those amber jars in the last year or so, and all of them are wide mouth.
Really?
Okay. So I think they're kind of pushing that. And so I think there's some of that. Also, I find that the people who have wide mouth are pretty passionate about wide mouth. Like, yeah, I only use wide mouth jars.
I can fit more this way.
Yeah. Well, they're easier to clean.
Yeah, they are. Totally.
Your hand in them. But the other interesting thing is someone had commented on Facebook and said, if you do a wide mouth version, you will have the whole small dairy industry. Because those that have, family cows or goats in their backyard, they store their milk in mason jars. And a lot of times they store them in those half-gallon sizes.
Yeah.
But they don't have a spout for them.
And then it just gets messy on the side.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is exciting.
It is. So it's fun to know that, we're not done. This is like one product, but we're actually working on some other things. We have a second product on our website that you guys can go check out.
I actually did see that, and I actually have a question about that.
Oh, you do?
I do, because we have a lot of plants, and so for some reason we always have little fruit flies and stuff like that. So it's a fruit fly trap that I saw. So obviously you guys probably had a need for that as well.
Yeah, we did. And
in fact, if I can jump in, that's the two products that Kate was wanting to have in the house. She actually created 4 or 5 years ago a prototype of a fruit fly trap for mason jars. Really rough prototype. And so that was really the two main ideas that Kate has had around mason jars.
Yeah. And the good news is the ideas are still coming.
It's awesome. So really quickly on the fruit fly catcher trap, did that one take a long time to develop?
No, that one did not take as much time because it's a simpler product, obviously.
Yeah, it's quite a bit less moving parts, quote unquote. Like
Right. But there were some considerations that we wanted to make sure, and it actually had to do with the difference between vintage mason jars and those that are currently produced, and that's the thickness of the glass. So the trap fits down, and it's a conical, sort of an inverted cone with a hole at the bottom, so you can put apple cider vinegar at the bottom.
Yep.
And trap the fruit flies. But we wanted it to fit the vintage mason jars, because if you're going to leave it out on your counter, if you have a vintage mason jar, it's a pretty thing to leave out to trap your fruit flies. But vintage mason jars, the glass is quite a bit thicker, and so as we were creating this insert, it wouldn't always go in. Like the cone was too big.
Oh.
And so we actually printed a lot of those, and most of the differences were just getting the cone right, so it would fit in a standard, currently manufactured mason jar, as well as the vintage.
Really? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't even think. I'm going to look at some of these jars because it is a lot. That is a big difference. If you guys have not seen that before, I don't have too many. I actually don't think I have a single vintage mason jar, so that is.
But what's interesting about mason jars, though, is the outer diameter is the same.
It's the same.
It'll fit for, your lids will fit, but the thickness of the glass might be a little different.
And are they weren't really super consistent, though, either, probably.
I was shocked at how consistent they were.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have tried our spouts on about every different kind of mason jar I can. In fact, if you look at the video that's on the main page, and the syrup pitcher is what's called a waffle jar. And so it has this cool, like, quilted pattern on it.
Oh.
Those are also vintage, but we've been able to get it to fit so that, yeah. So if you go and see the different jars, and there's like, I don't know if it's on there, but we had a GIF of all of the different jars. It was a picture. It's on the Kickstarter page, but
okay,
of all the different jars that it will fit on, because it will fit all the way down to a 12 ounce. If you have those small quilted 12 ounce jars, it'll fit on those as well.
That is so cool. There's just so many things that I would not have considered, but I guess you do get into that because then you're like, it's not doing what I want it to do. So
exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's craziness. Okay. So when do you expect to do this other Kickstarter campaign then for the wide mouth? We're
going to launch, it'll probably be March or April. Most likely. We want to make sure that we send out the spouts that people have ordered through Kickstarter, and that they have those in their hands first before we launch a second campaign.
Are you guys getting those shipped to you and then you're distributing them?
Exactly. Yep.
Oh my goodness. That is a task.
Yep. Straight out of our garage.
Oh my goodness. That is crazy, but awesome. And I guess that's what neighborhood kids are for, right? To help you do something. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
you're welcome to come over and help.
I think it would be so interesting to see, actually, because you're running a little warehouse out.
All right, well, you're invited.
Sweet. Okay, awesome. This has been such a eye-opening interview for me because I had no idea all the little nuances to have a quality product. That's one thing I've noticed when you guys are talking about all the prototypes and stuff. It's you guys really paid attention to all the little details, which I really love. So I'm very impressed. So would you consider yourself a businesswoman then, Kate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
I am now.
Okay. Yeah, seriously. I think this is awesome. Bryce he's already there, right? I mean, like he does this, but now you have a product and you have your Kickstarter campaign now.
Yeah, it's, I always look at it and say, there's always more to learn and just to grow. And that's part of why we're doing what we're doing and what it makes life more interesting.
So tell me where we can find you. Obviously, we've mentioned Colonesco, and can you spell that for us?
Yes, it's CULINESCO.com. So but you can also we're on Ergo Spout on all the social media places. So on Instagram, on Facebook, and Twitter, we're Ergo Spout. And you can actually go to ergospout.com if that's easier to spell. It's pointed to Colonesco, so it'll take you right there.
Perfect.
Then you don't have to worry about spelling the funny word.
Yeah. And the Ergo Spout is ERGO and then Spout.
Right.
And I think that we also have a little coupon code for our listeners.
We do. So if you're interested in pre-ordering the Ergo Spout, we are offering 15% off to Hungry Squared listeners.
Woo-hoo!
And all you have to do is in your checkout, put in Hungry2.
Hungry2, you guys.
And that will get you 15% off. So right now we're selling the Ergo Spout at $18. That's a pre-order price, but with 15% off, it'll get down to $15.30.
I love Kickstarters. I'm really excited. And so you guys, if you're interested in this product, I'm assuming, is this just United States right now? Or are you shipping internationally?
We are shipping internationally. We ship to Canada, Hong Kong, Australia, UK, there might be a few others, but those are where most of the people have ordered from.
Perfect. Okay. So I was going to just mention we do have some international listeners out there. So
and here's the thing. If you're in a country and you want me to ship it to you, shoot me an email because I just need to look up the shipping rates and make sure that it's something we can do.
It works out. Yeah.
It works out. So
Okay.
we're happy to add places if you want one.
Okay, cool. So just go head over to Ergo Spout or colonesco.com and check them out there. Hungry 2, is it hungry uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter?
It's all uppercase.
Uppercase hungry 2, everybody, to get 15% off. You guys, this has been so interesting, so cool. Like I really have enjoyed this immensely. I know Sharon was bummed that she couldn't make it. But thank you so much. And you know what? Maybe when you guys kickstart your other one, give us a holler. We'd love to have you and talk about that process too. Because it'll probably be a little slicker, right? You'll have a few things ironed out.
It will
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
But that will be fun because, I'm a fan of the wide mouth. So, thank you again.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you for listening to that interview with Kate and Bryce Hansen. And just a reminder, you could go to our website, hungrysquared.com, for show notes, and you could find a hyperlink to the Ergo Spout and the discount there, or go straight to their website itself and enter Hungry2 at checkout. That's Hungry, all capitalized, and the number 2 at checkout for a discount.
Thank you so much again, Kate and Bryce. That was awesome. Introducing interesting ingredients. Oh, wait, just kidding. It's supposed to have the do at the end. Oops. Anyway. Introducing interesting ingredients. Okay, so you know how we said that you could send in non-perishable food items to us to try? Well, we wanted to try something actually this week because one of our listeners brought us something to try out. It is from the Beef Jerky Outlet. It's called Wild Stampede Wild and Exotic Jerky Combo Pack. And we will probably do these on the air too. Oh, I need to do these on the air, Lee.
Yeah, we're going to do it on the air.
Okay.
We'll cut out all the disgusting chomping. But
Yes, we're definitely going to do that. So they brought us something to try out, and we're going to tell you a little bit about it because they went on a little bit of a road trip all over the place in Colorado. Is that right?
Yeah, Colorado.
And they brought this Wild Stampede beef jerky home to us.
First of all, thanks Ryan, Jamie, and Bonnie for the beef jerky.
And James.
And James.
Hey guys. So the first one we're going to try, and this has a variety of meats, and it says this box contains some or all of the following varieties: elk, venison, buffalo, alligator, boar, pheasant, antelope, ostrich, duck, and kangaroo. So we're going to give this a try. Lee, which one are we having first?
I have in my hand the pork and kangaroo.
The pork and kangaroo. We're going to take out the disgusting chomping sounds. What do you think of the pork and kangaroo, Lee? I just want to point out all of these beef jerky sticks, and they all had pork in them. So pork is the basis. I don't know how much kangaroo is technically in them.
I could not tell of any kangaroo.
Have you had kangaroo before?
I don't think I have.
I don't think I have either. So it was good. It was nice and smoky. I think I would have preferred a drier beef jerky, though. I don't know what kind of beef jerky person you are.
I like all beef jerky.
All of it?
Yeah.
Okay, which one are we doing next?
Should we do the ostrich?
I like the ostrich one's better.
I've got some stuck in my teeth.
So I'm going to say I like the ostrich one better.
You like ostrich better?
Than the kangaroo one.
I would say so too. The kangaroo seemed a little saltier.
Yeah.
Almost Spamish.
I do like Spam, though.
I like Spam, but it was like off-brand Spam.
Oh. Wah, wah.
Mm-mm. All right, next, alligator.
Last one, alligator. Pork and alligator, rather.
Pork and alligator.
Okay.
Winter, did you like it?
No, I didn't.
You didn't like the alligator?
I didn't. I don't know what the deal is, but I felt there was a little bit of fishiness to it, actually.
A fishy alligator?
Yeah.
Just because they swim in water doesn't mean it's fish, dear.
What did you think of it?
I don't know. They sort of... I can say that the ostrich was the best.
I agree.
But I think they all had a pretty much the same flavor context.
Yes. Texture-wise...
Yeah, all the same.
Texture... Well, I thought the ostrich was a little bit drier, and that's one of the reasons why it was better. because it felt like beef jerky and it just tasted better to me.
Oh.
So, yeah. Interesting.
We now can say we've had ostrich jerky, kangaroo jerky, and alligator, all mixed with pork.
Maybe a lot more pork than any of those other
Maybe a lot more.
Hey, anyway, thanks you guys for sending that over to us. That was interesting.
Very. Well, thanks for joining us today for our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com, on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and Spotify.
You guys, have you shared our podcast with your food nerdy friends and family? Because we have a new format. It's pretty fun, isn't it? What do you think? Let us know. Say hi to us on the interwebs, like social media. I don't know what else to say.
If you really want to send us a letter, PM us, and we'll get you our address.
Well, we do actually have an
We have a
address.
P.O.
You
box.
can send, if you do want to send us something, you can send it to P.O. Box 651-652, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84165. We are grateful that you're here. We love you guys so much. And join us next week for our next episode of Food Nerdery.
Okay, love ya. Bye.
Bye.
Hungry squared, yeah, hungry squared.